This episode of Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience is dedicated to all those affected by Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria, and all those devastated by the earthquakes in Mexico. You're in our thoughts, and we love you.
Welcome in to Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience with your host, Mike Mercado.
What is going on, friends? Welcome in to Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you all so much for making us a part of your day. We have a jam-packed show for y'all. Joining us today, Bellator MMA superstar, former WEC and UFC lightweight champion Benson Henderson joins the show. You can check out that interview in just a little bit. We have a bunch of news stories we got to hit to. Doug Collins is brought back to the Chicago Bulls in the front office. Triple G versus Canelo has a very controversial, crazy ending. And NFL ratings are in the forefront. Are people watching? Do people still care? What is going on with the game? Is it even a big deal? We also take some of your answers to our social media questions that we posted all over the internet, on Twitter at mmercado2333, on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves, Instagram Mike Mercado2333. So stay tuned for that. We have a lot to get to today, guys, so stay tuned on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, Mike Mercado2333. It's time for news, notes, and stories from around the sports world.
So the Chicago Bulls announced earlier on this week that Doug Collins would be joining the front office, only answering to John Paxson when it came to player personnel, things like that. The typical advisor role that you would hear when it comes to things that happen in the sports world. And it already has a lot of people talking all over the sports world in Chicago, whether it's the Chicago Tribune, the Sun-Times, Bulls.com, anything like that. Any NBA fan automatically thinks, we know what this means, the writing's on the wall for Gar Forman. Now, for any of you who have followed me for a period of time, whether it's been other shows, guesting on other shows, I have a lot of feelings when it comes to the front office that is Garpax in the Chicago Bulls organization. So let's since this is the first time I'm talking about the Bulls on this show specifically, let's go ahead and talk about a few things that I'm not only taking from this, but about how I feel about the front office right now. Take into consideration that other than Derrick Rose and landing a lucky spot at the number 1 draft pick because the New York Knicks messed up, the balls were in line and you won the lottery, were able to draft Derrick Rose, you didn't draft Michael Beasley, which was smart. All of that, everything had to go right for the Bulls for that to happen. But since then, how often have the Bulls hit on draft picks? Jimmy Butler, some would argue, is the exception to that rule. He was a kid from Marquette, mid-draft, mid of the first round. Didn't necessarily have the hype coming into it. But how much of that is the eye of Gar Forman and John Paxson seeing the talent? And it was Tom Thibodeau developing a hard-nosed, hard-hitting, just freak of an athlete that is Jimmy Butler, that a lot of NBA players don't become. A lot of NBA players don't become what Jimmy Butler did, where he exceeded what people believed his talent window were, that the floor was, and he exceeded that ceiling. It was very interesting how Jimmy Butler has developed as a legit superstar. Now, my argument with Jimmy Butler has always been that he's not a superstar that leads you to an NBA Finals. That's different. Those are special players. Those are once-in-a-generation type of players. Jimmy's a great one. So, you have the Jimmy Butler, you have the Derrick Roses of this regime. Other than that, they've hit on a few nice players. But for the most part, they've had coaching drama. From Scott Skiles, from Vinny Del Negro, Tom Thibodeau, and now Fred Hoiberg. It's happened. The only constants have been John Paxson and Gar Forman. Now, a lot of people in the know will tell you John Paxson is very respected around the league. That he's very knowledgeable about the league. And that Gar Forman, for the most part, is kind of a snake. Always looking for the next job. Always looking for the best position for him. Whether that means it's for the team or not. I don't know. I don't cover the team when it comes to being in the Bertle Center or the Advocate Center now by the United Center. I'm not there to hear what they're doing behind closed doors. But with this type of move, the clock is now ticking. And this team understands where it's at. Look at the roster. Look at the people they've drafted. Marketing might be a nice player, but that's it. Do you think he's the next Dirk Nowitzki? Do you think he's the next superstar European player? I don't know. I hope so. I don't know, though. They're the same people who traded for Cameron Payne, who traded away Doug McDermott and Taj Gibson, guys that they hailed on, they want to hold on to, that they didn't want to move on potential deals. They wait for the league to start switching around and for teams to make power plays. For guys like Kyrie Irving to want to be moved, like guys like Isaiah Thomas. The truth of the matter when it comes to that is the Bulls probably couldn't make a move. But just like anything else, it always seemed like the Bulls were one step too short, 1 second too short. They just pooped down their pants. That's what it seems to me. And this is coming from a guy who loves this organization. But I love the league. And when I see what's going on in the association, and I see how the league has turned to a players' league, how you have to know how to work with some of these superstars so that you create these superstar teams. The Bulls don't want to do that. And this goes beyond John Paxson and Gar Forman with the Reinsdorfs. Michael Reinsdorf, the son, seems to want to be more progressive. Jerry's always been a White Sox guy. So I do have questions when it comes to, is ownership 100% in that? But the one thing you can never say is they're not passionate, because they love what they do on the south side of Chicago with the White Sox. They do want to win. And they have started rebuilding things when it comes to what they're doing on the baseball side. And they have tore it down on the west side when it comes to the Bulls. But just like everything else in this organization, it's a mess. And when you find out Doug Collins is being brought in, what does that mean? Exactly. What's the truth? I can sit here and tell you, no, this is the beginning of firing Fred Hoiberg, bringing in Doug Collins to help develop coaches, and wait until the next GM, the next guy the Bulls bring in, will be the one that's able to develop talent, eye talent, get along with their coach, and maybe make a run in the Eastern Conference in 3 or 4 years. This all changes if you get Porter Jr. I think it's Porter Jr. or Porter Jr., but if you get that kid, it all changes. That's a game changer. That is a franchise saver. But until then, you can only say what you've seen, and what I've seen is this Bulls team is in a big mess, and they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA, and I still don't know if I trust the people in charge to make the right decisions. The one time they did draft Derrick Rose, they did go to the conference finals, they did take LeBron and the Miami Heat to their max, essentially, and then injuries derailed them. Can they do it again? Should they be allowed to do it again? That's the question. We all have to wait and see.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Over this past weekend, boxing fans were treated to another super fight between Triple G and Canelo. It was a hell of a fight with a lot of controversy, friends. In my personal opinion, let's take away what happened with those scorecards. Let's take away the incompetence of the judge. Let's go ahead and take that all to the side. There's 2 things I want to hit about this. One, as awesome as the super fight was, as awesome as action-packed, as intense, and as drama-filled as it was, boxing doesn't have anything else after that, in my opinion. They have a lot of good fighters in there. They have a lot of good guys that I enjoy watching on HBO Boxing, on Showtime Boxing, on ESPN, on free television. But other than these 2 guys, and what we saw with Mayweather, who else is selling pay-per-views? We heard the biggest problem with Triple G is that he just wasn't selling pay-per-view buys. They just weren't happening. So, put that into the fact that they needed a part 2. Fine. Let's just say this fight was a draw. Because in my personal opinion, you know what? I'm not going to get into all the details because we're already a few days past the fight and everybody's gotten a chance to kind of hear their own thing. But let me just break down to this to you guys. I believe that Triple G won 8 rounds to 4. The first middle rounds you saw Triple G, Canelo go ahead and dictate the fight. It looked like Triple G was trying to get his bearings and wasn't quite sure on the level that he was on. And then I think Triple G pretty much went into work the rest of the fight. Now, my issue is there were maybe 1 or 2 rounds late into the fight, rounds 10, 11, and 12, that could have gone either way. I believe Triple G won 2 of those 3. If I'm saying it was a draw. So with that in mind, people need to slow down a little bit, especially people who don't watch enough boxing, who don't understand necessarily the nuances of who got hurt more, who did more work, who controlled the ring, who made more movement, who portrayed more movement, who portrayed more damage. This is all real stuff, especially when you're leaving it to the judges. That's the last thing you want to do. You'll hear it in any interview I do with guys from the MMA world, from UFC, is you don't let the judges decide it, because anything can happen. Especially in a sport like boxing, where even if it's not as corrupt as some people like to believe it is, still has that history, still has that stigma. So, do I think it was a close fight? Yeah. Do I think Triple G won? Yeah. So, if you do want to argue, though, that it was a draw, fine. We get part 2. My problem is, of course, that scorecard. It wasn't 118 to 110. It wasn't like that. At the very least, Triple G won the fight. So if any scorecard has it any other way, they're wrong. They're wrong. It was a close fight, but they're wrong. So then my argument begins, though. It didn't matter if somebody had won or lost. It didn't matter. Did Triple G need the win? Did he need to keep the clean record for part 2? Did Canelo need to win for us to get part 2? No, I don't think so. The fight went exactly the way they needed it to, regardless of the outcome, for the world to want Canelo versus Triple G too. So why in the world did they... And this is the worst part. If it is corrupt, why did they make it so blatant? And if it wasn't corrupt, how can they be so incompetent? How could they not know that they already had a part 2? They had all of us. They had our money. And now? Now I still think it's going to be one of the biggest pay-per-views when it comes to these two men's career. But if it were in the up and up, I think you could have been seen as one of the top 4 pay-per-views of the modern generation. I truly believe it. Because it had the hype. It had everything you want. It had 2 guys with the right fighting styles, with the right mentalities, just at the right time. But now we'll have to wait till probably Cinco de Mayo of 2018 to get a real decision, to get a real finale of this, what we're hoping becomes a legacy rivalry. So if you thought part 1 had some fishy stuff go on there and you know part 2 is going to happen, what makes you think part 3 might not go down that way? Or maybe these 2 men finally leave it all in the ring, know this is the money fight, and we get the match that we've all wanted.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Finally, the NFL and a lot of people who keep up with the media ratings and keep up with behind the scenes and how the business works. A lot of people are talking about the NFL having some lower ratings over the last 2 weeks. And what exactly does that mean? There's a bunch of good articles you go on to right now. Sports Illustrated has one. SB Nation has one. CBS Sports has one. So you can check it in to see the exact numbers. But it got me thinking of what exactly is the reason, if there is a reason, why ratings are down. Can you pinpoint something? Now, let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room. Do I think it's because of Colin Kaepernick or players protesting? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do you see some of it, like Michael Bennett, Martellus Bennett raising up their arms or their hands, their fists, or players taking a knee during the national anthem? Sure. Sure you do. But you know who's at fault with that? Is Fox, CBS, ESPN, because they're making money off of these people. They're making money off of those shots. They're not even worried about the protest. So take that out of the way. Let's just say it is protesting, right? Let's say some people aren't watching because of protesting. Do you think it's enough for all the people out there who say, "Oh well, see, this is just going. The liberal media is finally taking down football, a man's game"? No, you're wrong. First of all, not enough people care about or outraged enough about the protesting, quote unquote, of the kneeling of the anthem and things like that for it to really make an impact. Or is it a number that some people you may know personally are watching it? Sure. But that number's too small to make a 10% difference, to make a real point difference for the ratings. Is it because of the political climate? Is it because people just have more things on their mind, that they don't want to watch a game feeling guilty that you have horrific earthquakes in Mexico and these horrific hurricanes that have gone through the south of the United States, the coastal part of the United States, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, the Caribbean, all these places. Do people just not have the heart to watch the sports? Is it because humans our attention span is so small, it's so tiny, that we have 1,000 different things to watch? Yo, if you're taking the time to listen to this show, that goes to show that there's so many things that you're exposed to, that could take part of your day. So what is it? Is it the game? Let's be fair to the situation. Thursday night football games are garbage. Even if they're a good team, there's not enough prep time, there's not enough film time, and the games are bad. They show it. Is it because the league has to catch up to the rules that it's set, that the efficient quarterback isn't exciting, it's safe, and safe isn't fun television? Is it the safety issue, where people don't want to watch a sport where people are killing themselves each and every single play? You see, these are the things these are death by paper cut. That's the fact. But here's the truth that nobody else wants to talk about. Sunday Night Football is still the highest rated television every single week. Every single week, Fox, CBS, NBC, ESPN, their football game is the number one rated show on television. So, the overreaction of people on both sides when it comes to wanting the downfall of the NFL for whatever reasons they are, or even the ones who are trying to support it and put false numbers on there, sure, the primetime games, the games weekly, are still the highest rated things. But that's because they're the only live television with the live outcomes that we don't know. It scratches that itch. And it is part of that niche of sports where you have to watch it live, otherwise you will be spoiled. You have to watch it live. So, whatever your place is when it comes to politics, whatever your place is when it comes to social issues, let's take into fact that you can't place these numbers for your own view, because it's too big and it's too much minutiae in there for you to really say it's because of these players doing this, or it's because the game is that. You don't know. To the individual, perhaps. But from where my vantage seat is, business hasn't been better. People want to talk sports. People want to talk NFL. It is the king. It is the ratings bonanza that you think it is. And even if it triggers you and you only watch because you're mad, guess what? You're part of it. You're in it. And you're helping out. So I find it very interesting that somehow, just like everything else in this world, we found out that the ratings are the way they are, but people are trying to claim it and make something of it that it isn't. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's an indication of the political climate or where the sports climate is. I believe it's just the world we live in where a lot of people watch it, and guess what? Instead of 52 million, it's only 47. Boo-hoo. Go ahead and try to tell me 47 million isn't a lot. I find it interesting that people have such strong opinions about it, though. And it's usually a certain demographic. I'm not going to get into it today, but I plan on definitely hitting this subject very soon. But I'm really interested to know, why exactly do you believe the NFL ratings are quote-unquote down? And what would you do to fix them?
Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Your NFL scoreboard recap is brought to you by patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
Andy Dalton couldn't get anything going against the Houston Texans as the Texans beat the Cincinnati Bengals 13-9. It was Cam Newton's Panthers over the Buffalo Bills 9-3. Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all over Mike Lennon's Chicago Bears 29-7. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers all over the Sam Bradford-less Minnesota Vikings 26-9. Arizona over Indianapolis 16-3. Tom Brady's New England Patriots took down Drew Brees' New Orleans Saints 36-20. It was the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore taking out the win 24-10. Kansas City beats the Eagles 27-20. Titans over the Jaguars 37-16. Raiders 45-20. Miami over the LA Chargers 19-17. The Denver Broncos all over the Dallas Cowboys 42-17, putting a roadblock on Ezekiel Elliott. The Seattle Seahawks get by the San Francisco 49ers 12-9. It was Washington over the LA Rams 27-20. And on Sunday Night Football, Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers 34-23. Jordy Nelson leaves the game with an injury. And on Monday Night Football, Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions take a win in New York against Eli Manning and the New York Giants. That was week 2 in the NFL.
Your NFL scoreboard recap was brought to you by Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
He is the former WEC and UFC lightweight champion. He is now a Bellator MMA superstar, and you can catch him this Saturday live on Spike TV, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, against Patricky Pitbull. It is Benson Henderson, and he joined us here on Mercado Airwaves. Enjoy.
Hey, Benson, thanks for making a few minutes for us, brother. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. Absolutely.
Do you still get a little nervous when you have a big fight feel on a Saturday?
I think you always got to get excited. You know, same thing for the NFL guys. Do they still get up for the games? Yeah,
Right.
they get up for the games. Like after a 13-year career, 16-year career, my man Julius Peppers went back to Carolina Panthers for this year.
Mm-hmm.
After like 6-7 years over in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Went back to the Panthers, 16-year career. He still gets up. He still gets excited for the games. So you still get excited. But it's a little bit different. You know when to get excited. You don't get excited all week long for these fights. I know, I've been doing this a long time. I'm not going to be excited for the fight. I'm not going to get all up and excited and amped up on a Tuesday. Maybe I'll wait till like Friday night and I can start to get more worked up for the fight. Maybe I'll wait till like Saturday morning, fight day, and then I start getting worked up. But as you do this sport for a longer and longer time, like when to get excited and when not to get excited.
And I think what's really cool about guys like you, about athletes like you, that as the years go on, your game evolves and you're willing to go with it, because that's a big challenge for a lot of people, especially in MMA, where we have so much respect for what the guys on the gridiron do or what the guys on the court do or on the rink, but they have a big squad. They have a lot of coaches. They have a lot of influence coming down for game planning, for individual weeks, for one game at a time. But for you guys, for the fighter, you guys built these teams around you, and it's on you. It's on your shoulders to come up with the perfect game plan for another dude like Pitbull, who's another bad killer. But you go in there and you have to have the perfect game plan that your team built. How is that, as you evolve in your career, making sure you train the right way, you eat the right way, and you're taking the right amount of damage heading into these big fights?
Well, that's definitely the total thing. MMA, mixed martial arts, is more of an individual sport. We do have teams. We train with teams. I have my team, the MMA Lab, in Glendale. I love all my guys. I love all my girls. We have a great team, but it is still a individual sport. So the onus is on you as the competitor, whether you win or lose. You can't blame the quarterback. You can't blame the coach. You can't blame the point guard. It's all on you. You're such an individual sport. That's why guys have to be highly self-motivated, highly disciplined to have success in an individual sport like this. And it's very true. Like ultimately, at the end of the day, after a fight, you can't blame your coach because you didn't have this game plan, you didn't have that game plan. Like right. No, you're the fighter. You're the one out there. You're the one who has to do it. You have to adjust on the fly. You got to change this up. You got to change that up. Such an individual sport, the onus is entirely 100% on the fighter.
And when you've been part of so many big fights, I mean, I'm 27. I've watched all your big fights, at least from the WEC moving on. And one thing that you've always brought this excitement to it, and it's a smart, almost chaos where you know everything you're gonna do, but it just comes out so fast, so smooth. Everything has a purpose for it. How much do you credit, being able to, unlike some of the other awesome athletes you've seen walk into any type of cage, any type of fight, that you've been able to check yourself, check the emotion, check the fact that the brightest lights are on, that you are the man carrying the mantle on your division any given fight? How are you able to check that right when you get into the cage?
I think you have to realize that while, yes, the same thing for tennis players, any sort of individual sport, even team sports, so to speak, a little bit as well. But really the individual sports like tennis or golf, you have to be able to realize that, yes, like I think I'm really good. I think I'm one of the best on the planet. You have to have a high opinion of yourself, realistic but high opinion of yourself. But you have to be able to realize that on any given day, on any given night, you might win, you might lose, but knowing that that's not truly 100% indicative of who the better man was. I've had nights where I won, I got my hand raised, had a great performance, and my opponent did not have a good performance. And I know, in large part it was because I did not allow him to have a good night. But also, maybe we fight out of 10 times, and maybe I win 6 out of 10 times, and he wins 4 out of 10 times. I'm happy that night was one of those 6. So I think being able to just keep yourself humble.
No, it's so true.
And not go crazy has allowed me to have a lot of the success that I've had.
And you have a lot of fans who,
whoever.
Yeah, but you've also had a lot of fans who love watching, who followed your career for the fact that you also have fun with it, that you keep it in check. But it's so serious when you're in there. You're like, there's no joke when you walk in there, and I think that's an awesome balance. Because I've talked to a lot of fighters who can't seem to find an outlet when they're outside of the cage. And it seems to me that you've been able to, you've had fun, you've been able to mix your family in there. For God's sake, you asked your girlfriend to marry you in the cage. It doesn't get any better, it doesn't get any awesomer than that. So, how are you able to find different outlets to be able to merge it with being a bad dude walking into a cage any given fight?
I think it's one of those things you have to realize, understand, and this is just for life in general. This isn't just for fighting, but whether you're a news reporter, whether you're a radio guy, whether you're a dentist or a real estate agent,
right.
There's more important things in life than your job. Your job is supposed to help supplement your life. Your job is supposed to help you live a worthy and happy life. Your job is not your life, though. So for me, I have a cool job. I like my job. I get paid pretty well. It has allowed me to enjoy my life and all facets of my life that much more. But, fighting's cool. I like it all and everything, but there's so much more. There's so much more to life than just that. So I think being able to realize that you're able to appreciate what you do and involve other things. I don't take fighting's cool and all that, but I don't take it too seriously,
No,
I wanted to be able to share a special moment, proposing to my girl.
That was awesome.
With the world. I had a great opportunity, a great showcase, a great place to do that at, and it went well that night for me. I got my hand raised, defended my belt, and then it was able to propose after that. So I think that it was a very good night for me. But being able to take a step back and realize the importance of fighting in my life. And there's a lot more important things than fighting. It's cool. It does pay my bills. But if I wasn't fighting, I'd pay my bills by doing something else.
No, for sure.
If it wasn't something else, I'd pay my bills by doing another something else. So I think just being able to not take it too seriously. You got some of these guys, these fighters, they get caught up with the game, or even not even fighters. Like if you're an investment banker or a stocks guy, you get so involved in your job and you think your job is your life, and you forget, no. I have this great job. I'm making a lot of money so that I can enjoy my life, so that I can enjoy my wife, taking her out to nice places, doing nice things, so I can provide for my kids and take them to practice.
Right.
I go to my job to pay for them to go to these nice, cool wrestling camps. I want to take them to those wrestling camps. I don't want to pay for the wrestling camps and be stuck working and not be able to watch them do the wrestling, so
making those memories.
Some that Exactly, man.
No, that's awesome. And let me throw a little hate on you, though. Thank you for making it so much harder for the rest of us when we propose to our ladies. That how am I supposed to tap a championship fight? Speaking of that, though, man, what else do you guys like to do fun? I know, like you said, you love your family. They're really a big part of this journey that you've been on, this awesome journey. What else do you like to do? I know one of my followers told me that you're into fantasy football, so you're just like me. You have that love-hate relationship with that damn thing that we call fantasy football. What else do you like to do, man?
I'm really pretty boring by nature. I like to read a whole lot.
All right.
So I read books, comic books.
My man.
In my downtime. And then, like you said, fantasy football. I'm big on fantasy football. I think I'm in 5 leagues this year.
Oh.
So I like to take that fantasy football pretty serious.
I'm with you. I got 3, and that's a lot.
Wise. 3s are too, man. 3's tough.
Yeah.
Anything over 2, like you got to start paying attention to who you drafted, which team they're on, and this and that. Like, it can definitely be quite a bit of a headache.
AJ Green is killing you in one league, and you're helping you in the other league, and you don't know which way to root for it. Yeah, no, I'm with you, brother. Without giving a spoiler, before we let you, I know you got a crazy day ahead of you. Without giving any spoilers, when Benson Henderson, when Smooth walks in there, one of the baddest dudes to play, one of the coolest dudes that we've been able to talk to, walks into that cage, what is the X factor? Why are you going to get that hand raised after this weekend?
I'm going to get my hand raised this Saturday because I put in all the work. I have years and years and years of putting in the hard work. I was never slouched. Did all the extra sprints. I did all the lifting. It's just about hard work for me. It's what it all boils down to, is who worked harder in preparation for this fight, and not just for the last 6 weeks, but for the last 6 months, for the last 6 years. Who was putting the hard work in? I just always tell people, you just get 1% better every day. Just put in that hard work, and then the results will come. It might not come immediately, might not come right away, but 6 years later, 6 months later, down the road, you'll see it pay off. So. Saturday night is going to be a payoff for me of all the hard work I put in over the years, and go out there and have a great night. Go run some good offense. I got a new stand-up coach in Eddie Cha, so I was going to be able to run some new things. I have 2 good knees. My first fight coming off ACL surgery, right. So I'm really excited to be healthy and 100% for Bellator. I have not had a great performance for Bellator yet. I think I've given them one pretty good performance, and I lost that one in a split decision. But my other 2 performances for Bellator, one I got my butt beat by Andre Koreshkov. He threw me a whooping. One was a decent, performance, not great, but I was able to get my hand raised against Patricio Pitbull.
Yeah,
and against Chandler. I think I beat up Chandler, and I had a decent performance, but I lost that one. So I'm looking to give Bellator, I'm looking to give the fans just a great performance now that I have 2 good ACLs to do it on.
You're too hard on yourself, brother. You've always given us great performances. You've given us your body, your soul, your family has let you done that for us. We appreciate everything you've done, man. I wish we had more time. Anybody who wants to support Benson, please. He's on Twitter at Benson Henderson. Follow him on Instagram at Benson Henderson. They're live on Spike TV, the main event. They're the main event. No matter what the outcome is, you're watching 2 of the baddest dudes go at it, and you're watching one guy who gets it, who gets the sport, but also gets the ins and outs of how to live life. Benson, man, is there anything we could plug for you, brother?
That'd be it, man. Just want to say it to all the fans, any new fans, just thanks for the support. This is a hard job. It's tough. It's not a typical 9 to 5. I get literally punched in the face, beat up, choked, kicked in the ribs as a part of my job. So it's hard to do. This is a tough sport. So thanks for all the kind words, the encouragement. It means a lot. So just thank you, fans, for that.
Hey, thank you, champ, for joining us, man. Good health, and go kick some ass, man. We can't wait to have you in Chicago. Next time you're in, Bears and pizza on us, okay?
I'm going to hold you to that.
Awesome, brother.
One last huge thank you to Benson Henderson. You can catch Smooth live this Saturday on Spike TV, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, live on Spike TV for Bellator 183 against Patricky Pitbull in the main event in the lightweight division. It's going to be a hell of a fight, guys. It's going to be hard-hitting. Please support our guy, Benson Henderson, by checking it out this weekend.
Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. This NFL schedule preview is brought to you by patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
Starting week 3 of the NFL schedule on Thursday Night Football, it's the LA Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. Live from London at 8:30 a.m. Central, it's the Baltimore Ravens versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your afternoon games are the Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Chicago Bears, the New Orleans Saints visit the Carolina Panthers, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Minnesota Vikings, the Cleveland Browns visit the Indianapolis Colts, it's the Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets, the Houston Texans get tested against Tom Brady's New England Patriots, the Atlanta Falcons visit Matthew Stafford's Detroit Lions, it's the New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles in a division matchup. In your second set of afternoon games, the Seattle Seahawks visit the Tennessee Titans. In another division matchup, it's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Chargers. The Cincinnati Bengals look for their first win against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. On Sunday Night Football, it's Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders against Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins. Finishing up week 3 on Monday Night Football, it's the Dallas Cowboys against the Arizona Cardinals in the desert.
This NFL schedule preview was brought to you by Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
All right, friends. So a lot of us have fantasy football teams, and as a lot of you know who followed me over the last few shows, over the last few years, I have a lot of pretty competitive ones. So I've decided to create a segment to keep you guys updated because I know how much you guys care about me, your friend, your boy, and my team as we try to win the Shiva known as the Ditka in Chicago's finest A-League. So please join me on my journey.
It's time to dive in and look at this week's very important, very real, definitely not a waste of time, fantasy football matchups.
All right, so in week 2, interesting matchup, coming off 0-1, a nice week last week, losing to what is the league leader right now. Came in thinking, I had a hell of a matchup. My starting lineup for week 2 was Jameis Winston, AJ Green, Terrell Pryor, Jordan Howard, Carlos Hyde, Charles Clay, and Matt Prater with Carolina's defense. So thinking, of course, that Terrell Pryor can't be any worse than last week. He's got to get some targets from Kirk Cousins. AJ Green on Thursday Night Football against Houston might be able to get past that secondary and catch a couple of flyers in the end zone. Charles Clay, the only target in Buffalo. I scored 74 points. Easily one of the worst weeks I've ever played in fantasy football. Jameis Winston, 14 points in a blowout against Chicago. Terrell Pryor, 5 points. Jordan Howard out of the game. Tariq Cohen on my bench. Doyle on my bench. Devontae Parker on my bench. Definitely seemed like a week that was not going to go well for me. The only saving grace was Carlos Hyde with 19. That is, until I saw who my opponent was in their matchup. And then I knew for a fact I was going to lose. Jordy Nelson, Alshon Jeffrey, Devin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Jimmy Graham, Kirk Cousins. And then the game started happening. And Ezekiel Elliott and Jordy Nelson were the last 2 guys I had to go against. Mind you, I had a kicker that was going on Monday Night Football. So it took Jordy Nelson getting hurt on the first play of the game on Sunday Night Football. It took Ezekiel Elliott having the worst game possibly he's ever going to have in his career against Denver. My kicker having 10 points for me to win with 74 points, going to now 1-1 heading into week 3. That's right, everybody. You can't keep a good man down. There's no such thing as moral victory, so I'll take one, even if it's with 74 points in week number 2. Let's preview week 3, because again, I know you guys care about my team and want to see us win here at Mercado Airwaves. I have Jameis Winston going, AJ Green, Devontae Parker, Carlos Hyde, Tariq Cohen, Doyle, Matt Prater, and the Carolina defense against Derek Carr, Stephon Diggs, Terrence Williams, DeMarco Murray, Jay Ajayi, and Zach Ertz. Should be an interesting week. Let us know, guys. It's not just about me. Thank you for humoring me, but the big thing about this segment is we want to make this a community thing. So let us know, what is your fantasy football matchup? Talk to each other. Talk to me. We'll see if we can help win every single one of us a championship, unless you're in my league, in which second place will have to be good enough.
We pose the question, you give us your thoughts, here on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience.
as always, we posed a couple questions to you on social media. And like always, you guys came with some amazing answers. So let's go ahead and get right to it. After a disaster in week 2 of the NFL season for the Chicago Bears, we pose, the angry Bears fan is out in full force today. Can't be angry when you know hot garbage will hot garbage, friends. Please don't put Mitch in and feed him to the wolves. Let Glenn wear it. Thoughts? And of course, we had some really good ones. This is from Michael Cohen. Michael, congratulations also on the new baby. That's a hell of a job to you and the lady. Good job. I agree. It's tough to watch, but we all expected this. We can put Trubisky in, but why put him in a situation where he has very limited weapons? I'd be more willing to push for number 10 to play if I thought we had a chance. But who is he going to throw to? We can't even establish the running game right now, so defenses will know what's coming. The kid will get a chance to play, but no reason to set him up for early failure and have fans hate him or for not delivering. And thank you for that one, Mike. Again, congratulations on the addition to the family. This is from Matt. 3 turnovers, though. That's a lot to live with. I'm with you. That is. And this comes from Bobby. Keep losing, need offensive linemen, need a wide receiver with more than 1 year of experience. And I think that's a really good point just for the fact that we're seeing in the NFL how important it is to have not only talented offensive line, but depth in that position because they are going to go down. And that is the truth about that position. And it's been a case of what we're seeing over the last 2 years. I think John Fox is one of the worst coaches in the NFL that continuously gets the job. I mean, he's supposed to be the guy that establishes a winning culture in an organization, and he's supposed to stabilize a franchise, and that hasn't happened here in Chicago. We haven't had any clarity. They ran themselves as if they're the New England Patriots without ever deserving that type of respect in the sense of how we cover them. And I'm with you guys. I still to this point do not think you play Trubisky. It is an interesting point to say if Glennon isn't helping you, if he's hurting you, then just play the rookie. The one thing I do not want, though, is for him to get hurt. Now, there isn't going to be a perfect scenario. That's another truth about the NFL. It's like you're a bad team for a reason, and it's not going to get any better. So I don't have the answers, but I'm trying to work this out like every other Bears fan, like anybody else watching this situation. How do you bring in a rookie quarterback? What is the right way to do it? People want to point out to Aaron Rodgers. The problem is Aaron Rodgers was backing Brett Favre, who had a good team around him. They were still making runs. Mike Glennon ain't no Brett Favre. That's the truth. And who is he going to throw the ball to? Kevin White can't stay on the field. I feel bad for him. I really do. But taking all the emotion out of it, he can't get on the field. Josh Bellamy can't catch a pass. Ty Gentry is on the practice squad or try to sign with another team. Like, they don't have anybody. So it's an interesting scenario, and I don't think any of us are going to we're not. It's not going to get any better anytime soon, even with bringing Trubisky in. Staying on the football side, we brought up an interesting conversation behind the scenes of which city seems to have the best type of food heading into a football season, and I asked on social media, what is the best food to bring to a tailgate? And we had a very interesting one. This comes from Jose. Brisket at UT games. It's a staple of tailgating. That sounds absolutely delicious. But I'm actually in agreement with a surprise message I got from my brother, Alex, who said, easy answer, hot dogs. I mean, and I get it. I think barbecue food in the simplest form is the easiest. Hamburgers, hot dogs, you can take it anywhere. It's easy to cook. Everybody can get a bunch of it for cheap, and you're ready to go. And let's be honest, the tailgate isn't always about the food. So it's usually about what's going down with the food, a.k.a. Jose Cuervo and a bunch of Corona. Another funny one earlier today that you heard on the interview with Benson, and when we've talked about fantasy football, I posed, how many fantasy football leagues are you in, and how competitive is your league? Again, I told you guys earlier, my league is very competitive. There is some money in it. It's not a little bit of change. It's a lot of money. Very competitive. It's a 12-man league, full PPR, no flex, no IR. You play only 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, a quarterback, a defense, and a kicker. So it is pretty intense. The guys are very knowledgeable. You have to pay attention to the waiver wire. you have to pay attention to trades. We personally veto trades, so we're watching what everybody's doing. It's very intense, so I want to know what everybody's into. This comes from Huey, one of my friends, Lewis. 1 and it's 12 and it's 12 people undefeated, baby. Woo. I'm happy for you, bro. It's only week 2, so you just better hope you don't get hit with the injury bugs. This comes from one of our patrons, Jose. 2 with 12 teams each. At most, I've been able to balance being in 3 different leagues. I draft most of the same guys if possible to keep track of them easier. I'm actually in 3 leagues myself. I'm in Chicago Finest A with the Good Brothers. I'm in Chicago Finest B with the Click. And I'm in Fantasy Farm Expert League with the Night King. Those are the team names. Each one's a little different. A League, of course, is the most competitive one. It's the one with the actual trophy. Has a high money buyout and very competitive. Our B League is essentially the same league, except the buyout isn't as much. There isn't a trophy. We do have a flex with the wide receiver and tight end position. Again, very competitive. This one's more online orientated. For A League, we actually do a live draft that takes forever. Oh my God, does it take forever? That's another story. Well, maybe next year for it. We'll get into it. This one comes from Sean. 2, 1 free, 1 paid. Paid one is very competitive. Last place gets shot in the ass with a paintball. That is nice. In our league, last place buys the first place winner a little ring. Because our buy-in, if you win the league, your buy-in for the next season is just the trophy. You don't have to pay money like the rest of us do, the other 11 teams do. But if you're team 12, not only does first place get to name your team, but it also gets to, they buy you a ring. So, again, you don't want to end up in last place in these things. Whoever's listening and you think we're a bunch of nerds, we are. Okay? So I'll never make fun of you for playing D&D or anything like that. All right, finally, guys, this one was a little bit more, this one was definitely more serious. We had one response again from our patron Jose, who I think really put into words how I feel about it, and we got a nice response from one of our friends, Matt, over at one of the podcasts we listen to. We'll actually plug it if you've heard of this before. Death by Film. They're really good. They're really good people, and you should really check them out. So here you go. With all the turbo news we see, do you find it hard to watch outlets like sports? If you do find it hard and stop watching, why? If you do but still watch, how do you do it? And this came from our patron Jose. I still do. It helps to take the mind off things, even if it's for an hour or two. Part of the magic of sports is that it gets people together for an hour or two. We're entertained and everything else fades. After 9/11, baseball was the first step in us trying to think past that day. That day was magical in those ballparks on the 17th. Now, that's not being insensitive to the tragedies going on right now. People are hurting and fighting to survive against natural disasters. And then Matt, shit, man, I even turn to sports and see terrible shit like that baby getting hit with a foul ball at the Yankee game. And it's so true. I think sometimes you hear it. It was one of the things that really scared me about jumping into the sports world when it came to doing a radio show about it. I absolutely adore sports. It is one of my favorite outlets. It's something you definitely could get lost and you create memories in. And it's also a stage, though. It's also a place to allow messages to be heard and for people to be seen. And not just with talent, but with life, because what is the truth is life is short, life is strange, and we're seeing it every day. I turn on the news, and it doesn't matter your political affiliation. You see some crazy stuff that shakes you to the core, from something in the neighborhood of a baby, being beaten to death by a parent to, global catastrophes. And it's hard, especially in my perspective of, we're a show produced by patrons. People have helped us create the show, and, you're thankful that you could be a distraction for somebody. And you also wonder, are you part of the problem of getting awareness out there? Have you done enough? Can you do more? And
I think that's what sports is so great for, because it allows you to intertwine the two, intertwine the real social and human issues that we have in the real world to our little playgrounds that we call sports. You know, where my studio's set up, I get to look right out into the world, and I get to see all types of life. And I set it up purposely for that, because while I'm in this technological world right now in front of me with the board and the computer and the microphone and all the papers and the apps and everything like that, you know, you got to remind yourself that it's a real world that we're living in, that we're part of this big thing. We just so happen to be playing in the toy section. Like Jonathan Hood said in one of our earlier interviews, like, it's true. We get to work and play in the toy section, and because of that, it's our duty to make sure that we bring light to certain things, whether it makes people comfortable or not. And the truth of the matter is, I respect your opinion if you want to just use sports as a distraction. You don't want anything real world in there. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you see it, I don't feel that way. I feel like sports, I feel like media, I feel like any type of entertainment has a place to be socially relevant, to be socially conscious. You may not always agree. We may not always agree. That's the beauty of it. We will still listen. We will still try to understand. We will still try to grow. And as we said on top of the show, this show is dedicated. I have family, cousins, aunts, uncles in Puerto Rico right now getting hit by the hurricane. I have cousins in Mexico. Great people. And like Matt said, you know, down to not even earthquakes and hurricanes, but seeing people get hit by pucks and by bats and by baseballs. And it makes life real. It makes you realize that it's not a bubble that nobody can get into, that sports is just a part of life. And sometimes it's a great part. And sometimes it's also a part that we have to use to make things, bring things to light. And hopefully, you know, we were able to, anytime you listen to us here, you're able to get a little distraction from the craziness of this world, but also maybe look at it with a little bit lighter tone and be able to attack it in a different way and be able to think about it in a different way. And that's all we can ever ask for, but especially from all of you who are taking some time to listen to us.
Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
All right, friends, that'll do it for us. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience. A huge thank you to Benson Henderson. Check out his fight this Saturday live on Spike TV as he takes on Patricky Pitbull in the lightweight division. It's going to be a hell of a fight, guys. Please support our guy, Benson Henderson. Thank you to each and every one of you for being a part of the show. Follow us everywhere in the universe. We're on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Do us a huge favor. This means a lot to us. Go on iTunes. Rate us, like us, review us, and then share us. It helps us get really good sponsors. It helps us get really good guests like Benson. We really appreciate it, guys. That's iTunes/Mercado Airwaves. Also, this show is brought to you by Patreons on patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. You can go to patreon.com and check out one of the tiers that we have there for you. If you want to hear our interviews ad-free and before anybody else, before they're aired on the show, we have a section just for you on patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're on the road, you're at the gym, you want to listen to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see everything behind the scenes, just follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Thank you again to Benson Henderson. Thank you to everybody in New York for making this possible. Thank you for being a part of the show, for supporting us, for being part of this journey. It's not possible without you guys. Enjoy week 3 of the NFL. Enjoy the playoff push in the MLB. We will see you next time on Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience.
To be a part of the show, follow us on social media. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow us on Twitter.com at mmercado2333. And help the show out by liking, rating, sharing, and commenting on the show on iTunes/Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/Mike Mercado 2333. Check us out behind the scenes on Instagram, Mike Mercado 2333. Thank you for listening to Mercado Airwaves Sports Experience.